Hello. I just wanted to jump on here and talk a little bit about cholesterol because I know it's been something that has come up in a lot of people's lab results. It's also something that's talked about a lot online, and I see even in the holistic health space, a lot of people talking about very big statements, I guess, about how cholesterol, getting up into like the 300s was used to be considered normal, right? Back in the day. And so there's these little video clips and people, kind of like repeating and parroting this statement that, hey, cholesterol used to be considered normal when it was really, really high. And the reason why, doctors will tell you that your cholesterol's high now is because Big Pharma wants to get you on a statin. It wants to get you on one of their products. And so it's a way for them to sell more. If they, lower the cholesterol level, well, then, they're passing out statins like candy. And while I think it's very smart to think about the intents and the, like what is the real reason behind certain things happening in healthcare? What can we, be more mindful of and aware of like the true risk going on with certain lab work, right? So I think that's a really smart thing to consider. But at the same time, um, now I see a lot of people who are for instance, there was a lady in a very large organic, non-toxic living type Facebook group with thousands of members in it. And she posted her cholesterol panel results and said, like, what can I do naturally about this? Or is this something I even need to be worried about? And tons of people jumped on and told her, oh, it's nothing to be worried about. Your numbers are fine. Like they're not 300, so don't worry about it. Um, which is, like, again, I see all the sides of the coin here, right? But what was lacking in a lot of people's conversation around this was what is the big picture? What is that lady going through? And one of the biggest things that I like to, as far as my perspective as a practitioner, is if I see something out of whack in your blood work, I don't want to just manipulate that number going back to normal. Now, there are some things like low magnesium on your blood work. Well, let's, probably consider some magnesium, which is typically a beneficial thing in general. I still like to look at the other minerals and other things going on in your inflammation to figure out why your magnesium is low, for instance. Like if you got a lot of chronic inflammation, you're going to burn through your magnesium faster. You're going to burn through your B vitamins faster. So if there's any way for us to plug the holes in the boat and fix the inflammation, then maybe you don't have to supplement as much, right? So same thing with cholesterol when it's elevated, and there's different rules of thumb as to what's considered elevated. So it gets very confusing because even in the functional health space, some doctors might say that over 200 is elevated. Some might say over 230 is elevated. But what the bigger piece of the puzzle is looking at your blood work as a whole. Are there any patterns of inflammation? Is there any evidence of hypothyroid or low thyroid function, which would increase your cholesterol? Is there any indication of, liver stress or blood sugar issues? Those are things that are going to cause the cholesterol to go up, and those should be the things that are pursued and addressed. Now, when we take something like red yeast rice, which is a very popular supplement to take instead of or in addition to a statin, the reason why it's so popular is because it does help lower your cholesterol. It doesn't do anything for the cause of that elevated cholesterol. So, and it also causes issues with CoQ10. Same thing with statins. They cause problems with CoQ10. It causes all kinds of muscle pain and muscle issues. And ultimately affects your mitochondria. Same thing with red yeast rice. So even supplements can have their drawbacks and their harms when it's not used appropriately or actually solving the problem in the body. So long rant short, I think there's a balance. We don't want to freak out. I don't freak out if someone's cholesterol is over 200. I do have a little bit of leeway there. I don't think we need to jump to a statin right at 201 of cholesterol. I think it's really important for us to look at the triglycerides. Are those elevated? Is blood sugar elevated? Is insulin elevated? Well, then let's start working on your metabolic and your blood sugar health. That will really help get your cholesterol under control. Or if there's a slow thyroid, let's work on that. Or if there's a um, infection, if there's, toxicity in the body, your inflammation increases and your cholesterol is responding to that inflammation. It is a healthy, in a way, healthy in a weird way, a normal response of your body to increase cholesterol, increase the band-aids that are going out from your liver to help with those damages in the body. So we got to fix the damage. We got to fix the inflammation. And then the cholesterol, your liver doesn't have to produce as much cholesterol. Now, there are dietary sources of cholesterol like eggs and fats and things like that, but that is like 20% of what you're going to see on your cholesterol and your blood work because only 20% about comes from your food. The majority of your cholesterol is produced by your body. So your body is responding to this stress and we got to go after the root issues. So I just wanted to mention that. I was able to comment on that lady's post and tell her, that looking at her LDL and her triglycerides, like there's more going on. She also shared that her CRP, which is an inflammatory marker, was elevated. And then later on, she shared that she has Hashimoto's, which is a chronic inflammatory autoimmune condition, which causes low thyroid function. So she had both a slow thyroid and inflammation going on. So of course her cholesterol is going to be affected. And so we want to deal with then her gut because her gut often contributes to those chronic autoimmune conditions. So you got to get the gut in order. You got to get the inflammation down. And so all that to say, this is why I got a little, frustrated or, bummed out that these people were telling her that her cholesterol's fine. There's these popular video clips that go around, and I love the intention and the heart behind it. But the vast majority of people in America are inflamed, chronically stressed, and they have unhealthy guts. And so if you meet anyone in America that is saying their cholesterol is high and you tell them they don't need to worry about it, just try not to do that. I know your intentions are good. We don't necessarily want to jump to a statin that has a lot of bad side effects, and ultimately kind of doesn't really fix the root issue. So I agree with that, but yeah, just try to encourage them instead to find someone who looks at the root issues in the whole picture and not just that one test on the blood work results. Looking at one marker in isolation is never going to give you long-term results. So I hope that was enlightening and helpful. And if you have any questions about cholesterol, I'm going to do another short video on low cholesterol and how important that is to pay attention to. So let me know if you have any questions and I can add that into the next one.